All right, welcome back. Today, we're going to put you in the hot seat. Imagine you're in a high-stakes technical interview. Your task? To replace a critical legacy system using SAP's very latest technology. The pressure is definitely on. So let's just dive right in.
So the architect kicks things off, right? The challenge is crystal clear. Take an old, clunky sales order system and replace it using the RESTful ABAP programming model, or RAP. And you got to understand, this isn't just some technical puzzle. No, this is a real core business problem. And that very first question they're about to ask, well, it's going to reveal everything about how you think.
And here it is, the first big one, the major architectural decision you have to make. Your answer here is going to show them if you really get the whole philosophy behind the RAP framework. This isn't just about writing code. It's about control, responsibility, and your whole approach.
So the architect lays it out. They want to know your strategy. Are you going to let the framework do all the heavy lifting, or are you going to roll up your sleeves and take manual control? This choice, right here, it's the one that's going to impact everything else down the line. Okay, so here's how I break this down. Look, if we were starting from scratch, a totally new, greenfield project, yeah, managed is a no-brainer. You let the framework handle all that standard CRUD stuff, create, read, update, delete, and you save a ton of development time. But, and this is the key, we're not. We're migrating a legacy system. And that means there's a whole bunch of existing business logic that we absolutely have to preserve. For that reason, an unmanaged scenario is the clear winner. It gives us that granular control to implement the CRUD operations ourselves and carefully integrate that irreplaceable legacy code. It's just the safer, more realistic way to go in this situation. Hands down.
All right, you can see the architect nodding. Good sign. We've laid the right foundation. But now comes the next big challenge. How are we actually going to build the logic for this thing? How do we translate all those complex business rules from the old sales order system into this new RAP model?
You know, with RAP, you can't just throw code at the wall and see what sticks. The whole thing is structured. Logic is built into these really specific, well-defined components. The three big ones you need to know are determinations, validations, and actions. So let's break down those first two.
Okay, first up, determinations. Think of a determination as an automatic trigger. It's basically a when this happens, then do that kind of rule. So for our sales order app, the perfect example is calculating the total order value. When a user changes, say, the quantity of an item, a determination just automatically fires off, recalculates the total for that line, and updates the grand total for the whole order. It happens instantly. You don't need some clunky recalculate button. All right, next up we've got validations, and these guys are basically our gatekeepers. They're checks that run before any data gets saved, and they stop bad data from ever getting into the system in the first place. So, in our app, let's say a user tries to save a really big order. A validation would kick in to check their credit limit. If they're over, boom, the save is blocked, and they get a nice clear error message. It's how we make sure business rules are always enforced.
Okay, so far so good. You've designed a system that's logical, it's robust, but now the architect's going to throw you a real curveball. Because a sales order system, it isn't just about rules, right? It's about volume. It's got to be fast, and I mean lightning fast.
And honestly, this next question is what separates the good developers from the really great ones. When you're dealing with thousands of transactions an hour, how do you make sure your users aren't just staring at that dreaded spinning wheel of death? The answer isn't just about tweaking the application code. No. The real secret is buried deep inside the database itself.
And your answer should be 4 letters, AMDP, ABAP Managed Database Procedures. This is, without a doubt, the modern ABAP developer's secret weapon for insane performance. The whole idea is to flip the old way of thinking on its head. Instead of pulling tons and tons of data up to the application server to process it, you push the logic down to where the data lives.
Just look at the difference here. It's night and day. The old way, the traditional approach, was all about pulling millions of records from the database up to the ABAP server. You bring the data to the code. It's slow, it creates huge network bottlenecks, it's just inefficient. But the modern AMDP approach, it flips that completely on its head. We push the code down to the data. We execute the really heavy-duty logic right inside the HANA database, taking advantage of its incredibly powerful calculation engine. And this one single paradigm shift, moving from data to code to data, that is the absolute secret to unlocking mind-blowing performance.
All right, so the application is well architected, it's going to be blazing fast. But hold on, there's one more crucial piece of this puzzle we can't forget. the user. Because a great application isn't just about what it does. It's about how it feels to use it, especially when things inevitably go wrong.
So the architect hits you with a total nightmare scenario, one that every single one of us has experienced. Picture this. A user's been working for 20 minutes, meticulously entering a huge 50-line item order. And then, poof, the browser crashes. Is all that work just gone? Well, in an old legacy system, yeah, it probably is. But in a modern wrap application, oh, you have a killer feature up your sleeve for exactly this moment.
And your answer is simple. It's confident, and it completely solves the problem: draft handling. It's a feature that's baked right into the wrap framework for this exact reason.
So here's how the magic really works. When you have draft handling turned on, every single keystroke, every change a user makes is automatically and silently saved in the background to a special draft table. It's like a constant running snapshot of their work. So when that browser crashes and the poor user logs back in, expecting the worst, Wrap just automatically detects that draft and restores their entire session, all 50 of those line items, exactly where they left off.
And that, right there, is the real takeaway. We've taken a technical feature and used it to solve a massive user experience problem. Something that used to be a complete disaster, costing time and causing so much frustration, is now just a minor inconvenience. This is how modern apps are supposed to work.
So look, you've completely aced the interview. You designed a system that's robust, fast, and incredibly user-friendly. But this whole scenario leaves us with a much bigger question to think about. The technology, wrap, CDS Fuse, AMD, it's all there. It's ready to go. It makes a completely new way of building applications possible. But having the tools is only half the battle. The real question we have to ask ourselves is our development culture ready for this shift? And that is the real challenge that lies ahead of us. Thanks for tuning in.